Welcome back, everybody. This is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage here, and I'm going to try to show you something that's not easy to see. And if you've never attempted to take the cover off of the free arm of a Bernina record 530, I have done it before, and I couldn't find at the time I was doing. I couldn't find videos of it, so I had to kind of wander around until I could figure it out. Some companies have on the top of the free arm, they'll have screws. You just remove the screws. Sometimes you'll take off the hold that foot up. You'll take off the needle plate, or excuse me, the feed dog plate, or needle plate, and then you can simply remove the top. But Bernina has theirs hidden. It looks very nice. It looks very slick. But if you're not aware of how to take it out, you wouldn't know. Now, the first thing you want to do here is before you try to remove anything, I want to mention this. When you open the door to your bobbin case area, you're going to have two different, see if I can change the angle here a little bit. You're going to have two different mechanisms, for lack of a better word. There's one here at the bottom, or the lower one is right here, and then there's one up top. The one below is going to help you release the race cover and to get access to your hook. And we need to do that anyway because we're going to go in there and clean and check things out. But before you do this, unlike with some sewing machines where you can leave the bobbin case in, you want to take your bobbin case out before you start taking anything else apart. Okay? And when I put this back together, I'll try to remember to tell you why. Because this needs to come out beforehand. When you see what we're about to do, maybe it'll make more sense. Okay, so the bobbin case along with the bobbin and thread are gone. Right here is a little, looks like a little black, I don't know what it looks like, a little black nub there, okay? Well, what you want to do is take your finger and push. And when you do, this releases. This, of course, is the race cover. And it folds out just like that. It's on a hinge, so it doesn't actually come all the way off. Although there may be a way to release it, but we don't need to in this case. And then I can, of course, get access to the hook, right? And I do this with all my machines because I want to get behind there. I want to get in the back and check for thread tails. I want to get any lint or dust that may have worked its way in there. Okay, so far so good. So you do that first, get this out of your way. It makes it easier to get your fingers up in here. As you can see with my fat fingers, it wasn't easy. Now, there's a lever up here. This lever is what's going to help release the top of your, or the cover of your free arm. Okay. Now notice I pulled it toward me. Let's push back in, not back in. Okay. When I push this again, it released it. Right. Okay. So there's a lever here. It's like a little black. Let's get another light from this side. Maybe that'll help. Maybe you guys can see that better. So you're going to put your finger or your thumb, pull it towards you, and it releases. And then you can normally have your needle up, obviously. You may want to take the sewing foot off if it's in your way. And there we go. And we just removed the cover of the free arm. Now you might think, well, why do we have to do that? What's the point of that? Again, and I purposely repeat this often because those of you who are new to this may be thinking, gee, why would I want a vintage sewing machine if I'm going to have to do all of this maintenance? This is overhaul maintenance, okay? This is servicing. It's not the maintenance you normally would be doing if you were simply going to oil your machine, clean the lint from your feed dogs. Your maintenance requirements as a sewer are going to be a lot less, so don't let that throw you off. Let's back out a bit and I'll show you the various aspects of this free arm and why we needed to remove the cover. Underneath that cover is this. Now, I'm going to slightly turn the hand wheel so you can see what's happening. It's kind of cool because you can see this mechanism, right? Here is basically an arm moving a piece that controls your shuttle. Okay, now you'll see there's a, where did you go, pointer? There's a couple of places marked with red here, a couple, but And those are fine. Those work fine, but I'm going to go ahead because this machine may not have been oiled in decades. There's, I think, another red mark here. You can see a little bit better when I have light on it. It's getting darker now. Sorry about that. So, and there's a spring here we're not going to mess with. We don't need to mess with that spring, but we do need to get down in here. Now, the Vikings and some of the Berninas have little felt pieces that were designed to be soaked with oil. This one does not. But I wanted to see if is there anything in here I need to remove. No, it's fairly clean. Again, I don't know if it's ever been opened. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. In any case, it's overdue. And so we will be oiling, obviously, the areas where you see red, but then I'm going to start applying, for example, I'll just give you an example of this. I'm going to apply a little oil right here, right, on either side of this, so that as it goes in, you know, we need to get, this thing is dry. So unlike normal oiling as part of your upkeep, this is something where we really want to go in and give it a little extra oil because it's just so starved for it, right? So would the machine run without doing this? Yes, but it wouldn't be happy, and neither would you. You wouldn't get the full power of your machine. And again, machines require maintenance and lubrication. They all do. Even modern automobiles, as much as they've changed over the years, you still have to have motor oil in the engine. Unless you have an electric car, because if you don't, you're not going to get far. So, and you can see this little mechanism. This mechanism that we were pulling on, we couldn't see it very well with the cover. It actually, see if I can zoom in on it, maybe give you guys a little bit better view. This mechanism right here is spring-loaded. But again, it's an area where we really want oil. Now, I haven't oiled everything here yet. I want to go in and make sure. I don't see much dust. I see almost no dust. But I want to make sure my dust is clean out before I start putting oil. Oil and dust make for a muddy mess that you do not want to have to clean up. It's much easier to get dust out when it's loose and dry. So I'll go ahead and do that. Let's see. I'm seeing so very little. There's almost nothing. And I'm very surprised. It looks like there's almost no dust or lint down in the shuttle area, which is unusual. It could have been clean the last time it was used, but I'll go over it with, again, I will be going over this with my cotton swabs with some alcohol, clean up old oil, any dust or grime that's in there, and then we'll get everything oiled up. But so you may say, well, where are you going to oil? In addition to these let's pan back out. In addition to any of these areas where I see red, which Bernina put in there to help us figure that out, if you're not sure, if you think there's an extra space that needs to be oiled, what do? Well, you hold the machine and gently with your hand turn the hand wheel, and you can see what moves against what, right? I see this rotating. I see this over here, right? Some of this will be taken care of with the obvious red marked oiling holes, and that was Bernina's intention. However, I'm probably going to, like I say, I'll probably just put some right along here. That's not a Bernina point, but I really want to get, I just assume that this thing is starved for oil, and I'm not worried for an overhaul for a machine that's been dormant for so long. I'm okay if I use a little bit of extra here. It's not in any danger of getting near the motor, and if you have any excess, obviously you can wipe that off there. But it's really important that a machine, when it's getting woken up, that it get a little bit of extra oil, because again, you're basically priming this thing in a way that will set you up for normal sewing. And once you start sewing with it regularly, then one drop of oil is normal. All you ever need is one drop. But the reason you see me use extra is, again, I want to put, I don't even see a red mark on this little piece, but I know that this is important for getting access to this area. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little oil here, because I know it's spring loaded, but see, it's still having to pivot. It still has to pivot against that screw there. So let's give it a little, I don't know why this is marked red. I'll have to see. It's marked red for a reason. They wanted oil here. Not sure why. In any case, I'll be going in. Like I say, I'll take my cotton swabs. I dip the cotton swab in alcohol, and we're going to go in here and look for anything that's, I'm going to be replacing this needle eventually. I always put a new needle in for anyone I'm restoring a machine for, unless they have something specific new. A lot of the machines I work on haven't been used in a long time, and it may be a good needle, but I like to start fresh with that. It's a very low cost way of getting a nice sharp needle in there for the owner when they start sewing again. Typically I'll use a size 14 in a Bernina. I use the same size in my Singer Slantomatics. If I'm restoring a machine that I know the owner is likely going to sew heavy stuff, maybe some garment leather, I'll use a 16 or even an 18 needle. But for the purposes of what we got here, I don't really feel that I need that. And of course, we want to make sure, like I say, we're getting in back here. This piece here, I'm putting a little oil on the sides of this. I know that's not an oiling point, but I really want this to move. And I've got this piece. You notice this is moving. That means it's pivoting on a rod down below. We got to get to that. So again, this is how you remove this. And again, you want to know, because if it's not obvious how to get this cover off, you don't want to damage the cover. Never use a screwdriver to try and pry it off, because that's not how it comes out. You can see it has a little piece here that it fits. So if I'm going to go ahead and take the sewing foot off here. It's just in our way. Get the needle up out of the way. So if when I come in here like this, there's a slot. There's a little slot where this goes into, right? It comes down. Now, I need to get this back on, but right now it's not. That's because it's waiting for me to push on the same lever. You push the lever to the left, just like you did when you got it on. Whoops. And then you push down, and then the lever comes back to the right, and it locks it in place, right? So notice I'm pushing up, it's staying put. And that's how it should work. That's why you want this little device to work properly. I like to hold the top of the pre-arm down gently, and then when I push on this, it comes up and it doesn't go banging around anywhere. So, and I might even put a little grease or oil on this. It's probably not necessary, but we got it open. This is cleaner than some I've seen, but again, whether it's clean or not, you really need to do this. And again, once I've got oil here, I'm going to have these points oiled, and then we should be good to go for a while. And we're making our way around, guys. We're making our way around to hopefully getting around to getting the machine complete, making sure that everything moves properly. Again, it's a free arm. I don't think free arms take longer than other machines necessarily. Yeah, you take the cover off the free arm to get access. The biggest issue with European machines is that a lot of times you don't have access screws, and you just have a lot of rigmarole to get access to the machine. And they did it on purpose. It was designed that way. But Berninas are still awesome. They're still worth working on. They just take longer. And so if you ever take your machine somewhere, something in there, if you ever take your machine somewhere to be overhauled and you get a quote and you're not quite sure, gosh, why are they giving me a price like that? There's a good chance that you're getting that quote because the labor itself is pretty incredible. I always take more time. It takes me more time to get one of these, most European brands overhauled. There's a little speck. There it is. Little speck caught right there in the shuttle. That shuttle plate there. And I want to make sure that was all out of there if possible. So we're going to get this cleaned up. I've got to get behind here and get things cleaned up. Always clean dust first, then lubricate. The only exception to that is if you can't get something apart and you've got to add oil or penetrant to get it loose. That's different. But normally, and this fortunately did not fight me when I came to this section. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to, in fact, here's another little area I'll show you. Let's zoom in and you will see. If you look right here, guys, if you see this here, notice that this piece is moving over this like a cam, right? So we need to definitely make sure we get that lubricated. Make sure there's no dust or trash or anything stuck in there. Not really seeing much. A little bit of, there's some dust. Yeah, honestly, the dust hasn't been bad in here compared to some machines. And anyway, but here I'm going to make sure that I get this oiled. Very important that this be able to move freely. Because again, the engineers designed these machines to work a certain way, and if you ask the machine to act, if you want a machine to function and you're not maintaining it, you're going to wear it out prematurely, and you're really not being fair to the machine. It's not the machine's fault. These machines were built in a time when things were designed to be maintained. It's not like you have to do it too frequently. I don't want to give the wrong impression that, oh my God, this is going to be a maintenance nightmare. No, they're not really that bad in terms of frequency, but they do need servicing from time to time. That, you know, they were designed for it. Only machines that are designed to be disposable don't require service. And any of you who've had really inexpensive machines or poorly made, cheap, modern machines, you know what I'm speaking of. You've been there and you've had to deal with it before. You've had to deal with machines that when you get a quote, oh yeah, well in theory they could fix it, but it's going to cost so much, they just sell you a new one and the old one gets trashed. Well, that's not true, because our prior generations, our ancestors, they were willing to spend more, but then keep something for a lifetime. And I really admire them for that. I think that's a lot more sustainable than instant plastic stuff. But who knows? Maybe we will get back to that one day. Thank you all for watching. Wanted to show you how this comes off. Never force anything. If you don't know how it comes off, go online, look for research, look for videos, mine, or there's other places out there you can look for information on how to do something. Because when in doubt, don't. Because if you're not sure, you can damage the machine in a way that would be really unfortunate, and you will be very unhappy because it'll be your machine normally, and you don't want that to happen. And again, if you own a European machine, a German Pfaff, a Swiss Bernina, there are others from your European brands, you really want to take extra time because they are often a little more mysterious in terms of how to get to the things you need to service. They're not service friendly, but obviously I've just shown you how you can service them. But they require more effort, more research, and more time, and certainly more patience. So keep this in mind when you are bidding on a machine. If you're going to pay someone to service it, someone like me, or maybe you find a sewing shop that will service an older machine, or if you're going to do it yourself, either way, it's your time or someone else's time, but there's a cost there. I think they're worth it. My clients who have these machines think they're worth it. But if you're new and you're not sure and you're not particularly loyal to a brand, do some research to find out what it takes to service one. You know, and that will help you, and I think it will take you a long way. Anyway, we are toward the end of the day, and I'm losing the natural light that I love so much when it comes to being able to service a machine. So I'm going to go ahead and finish getting oil in this, and then we'll get the cover back on. It's also a good time to look underneath, see if there's any dust bunnies. I don't see any here. Go ahead and get the cover of the free arm back on, and then I'm going to check out a few other controls. We'll come to the side here, and little details just to show you guys. I've been talking about lubrication. Here's another little detail that I do when I overhaul machines. So you see the side door here, right? It's kept in place with a little tension piece of steel. I don't even know if you'd call it a spring. It's sort of a little, I don't know what honestly, I don't know what the technical term is. I call it spring-loaded steel, right? And you can see, I have to put the light on here. When I do this, boom, it kind of holds it in place, and there's a little indentation on the top of the door here. But one of the things I will do is I'll put just a little dab of grease right here, and that'll help this function. Again, you don't need to do that as a normal part of your maintenance, but this thing's been sitting. So again, these little details, these machines appreciate those details. They work so much better when you give them this kind of attention. And any of you who have one, once you've had them overhauled, you know, you should be able to see a difference and be satisfied and feel good that you've taken care of the machine. So if the machine has any issues, it won't be because you didn't maintain it. It could be something wore out or something, you know, motors have a certain lifespan and that's it. But you know, we're going to check in here, make sure there are no threads causing issues. I don't see any offhand, but I'll be, like I say, I'll have to get in here with the flashlight and look very closely, because that FOF I just worked on, I had to look really close, and I found that huge nest of thread that was almost invisible, but when you got down into it, you could see it. So anyway, there you go, guys. We're slowly but surely, we're making our way toward the end of the overhaul for this Bernina. I'm really looking forward to doing some test stitching on it, and hopefully she will stitch out good, and we will get her ready to bring back to the owner of the machine. Thank you all for watching this series. It's been fun. I'll do another video when I do the debut, and we'll see it stitch and see how she does. But again, Berninas are a beloved brand. They have a love mark. That brand is Bernina is a much smaller company. It always was than Singer, but Berninas are as loved as Singers are. But every brand has its own following. If you have your own brand that you love and it's not Bernina, or put that down in the comments as well. And I appreciate all of you watching. Stay tuned, and we're going to bring at least one more video of this machine as we get it ready